Amazon's Jeff Bezos gave the Salk Institute here in La Jolla $30 million to help in the fight against climate change. The gift is all part of a $10 billion effort that the Amazon CEO is launching to fight climate change. It's called the Bezos Earth Fund, and the Salk Institute is part of 16 institutions around the world that were part of the first round of these donations. And joining us now to talk more about the donation and how the Salk Institute will use the funds is co-director of the Salk Harnessing Plants Initiative, Dr. Wolfgang Busch. Hi, Doctor. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks
for being with us. I understand you're working on ways to optimize a plant's natural ability to capture and store carbon as a way to fight climate change. Tell us about that and how that all works.
Yes, indeed. So plants can be our biggest allies in actually fighting the climate crisis. They naturally use the power of the sunlight to fix carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. You know, they take it up through their leaves and they make it into biomaterials to build their body and do all the great things they do for us, like producing food, feed, and fiber. But they also take some of this carbon that they have caught from the atmosphere and transfer it to the roots. So what we try to do is to find ways how they store more carbon for longer in the roots and thereby in the soil.
So is the idea that there's too much carbon dioxide out in the world? That's the problem with these greenhouse gases and climate change, and you want to somehow suck that carbon out of the atmosphere and put it into the plants?
Exactly. So carbon dioxide is the worst culprit for our climate crisis, and we are already at unsafe levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It's very difficult to get it out of the atmosphere, and plants already do that naturally. You just need to find ways that plants actually transfer this and store this for longer in the soil. And then we actually have dealt with a major part of the problem.
So how do you go about doing that?
So we have thought, we are a group of professors at the Salk Institute, and we have thought about ways how we can leverage natural plant processes for this. And the key is to put a lot of carbon in the root system so that it can stay in the soil, but also to put it in parts of the soil where the carbon, so the root materials, don't degrade that easily by the activities of microbes in the soils and so on. And we do this by making deeper and steeper roots and by changing the biochemistry towards components that are not as easily degraded and stay much longer in the soil.
Are you focusing on certain plants to help you do this?
Yes. So generally these recipes would work for almost all land plants, but we are focusing on the land plants that cover the largest area in the world, and those are the crop plants that we all know, like corn and soy and wheat and rice and canola and sorghum. Together, they cover hundreds of millions of hectares in the world. Just these 6 species cover more than the size of the Indian subcontinent. And so we are focusing on these 6 species and try to make them better in storing more carbon for longer in the soil.
So these are obviously crops that we all eat. Would this be something that we would eat, and would it be safe to eat, say, wheat or soybean that's been, I guess, altered in a way so that they've got more carbon?
Yes, we are already eating corn and wheat and soy that has been altered by humans for thousands of years in the process of domestication and breeding. And we want to make it better to store more carbon in the soil. We want to do it in a way that it doesn't affect anything that we eat, that the portions that we eat stay the same. And we do it also in crops because we know in the next century, the world population will grow by a lot. We're going to be 10 billion or 11 billion people by the end of the century. So we need to use the land that is used for food production also for carbon storage. We cannot have these competing objectives.
I've got time for one more question. Is there a timeline that you're looking at as to when maybe you can see some progress in all of this?
So right now we are like really still deep in the research, but in the next 5 years, we want to be at a stage where we will have prototypes, so to speak, of each of these crop species that put more carbon for longer in the soil. And then in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll partner with companies, with ag companies and others, to bring these traits, these characteristics in the prevalent varieties of these species that are used by farmers. And hopefully in 10, 15 years, farmers all over the world can have access to these seeds.
Dr. Wolfgang Busch with the Salk Institute here in La Jolla. Fascinating. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. We appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.